Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our How To Corner. I am Will Gray, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to return to sport without setbacks after the ACL surgical procedure. So, before we get started, everybody smash the like button, subscribe, follow, share, please. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And hope you enjoy today's episode. So, let's talk about the top three things to know. When you're dealing with an ACL surgical procedure, one of the things that I think has happened over time is that people believe that the faster you get it back, the better, right? The faster you get back, the better your rehab went, the better the person you're working with. And that's not quite true. There are certain milestones and certain things you have to hit and approach before you are able to be released back to play. And sometimes when you rush that, things tend to become a problem and maybe not as quick as you think they are, but as time goes on, progressively things become a problem. So, the first thing we're going to get to is full range of motion is the most important thing to achieve by week 6. Okay? And we're going to expound upon this later in the talk. Number 2 thing is that active knee extension by week 4 is a must unless you have meniscus repairs or menisci repairs, right? Listen to your body and have the right support system around you. This is uber important, especially for the mental aspect. A lot of the get back in order to avoid setbacks is really you having the right mind frame, mindset. It takes having a village around you to be able to get back really. And for anybody who thinks that it's only you that's responsible for that, that's not true. So let's get to the first part of the talk, which is let's discuss full range of motion. What's full range of motion of your knee? For the focus of this conversation, let's just call it it's within 5 degrees of your contralateral lower extremity, meaning if you injure your right knee, your left knee has the full range of motion of your body, unless you've had previous injuries in that left knee. But for the most part, you can use your opposite leg as the guide. So let's say you have 135 for your left and your right is the ACL repair knee. You need to get within 5 degrees of that and try to get all of it, if you can, back. That's super important. That's bending or flexion and extension, which is straightening up your knee or having your knee straight out. What limits range of motion early on? If you have an ACL injury or a surgical procedure and other structures are injured or involved, your meniscus, your PCL, your MCL, your LCL, that could really limit your motion early because in today's, surgical world, there's a lot of tinkering going on. I'm to say that yeah, tinkering. That's better. And what I mean by that, with the meniscus, there's a whole approach of if you have a meniscus repair, they want you to start weight bearing on it pretty soon, like within the week. And then some of them want you to wait. With the PCL, some of them repair that, for sure, depending on what activity you're going to do. Some of them do not. But the MCL is another thing that's very important in stabilization of your knee. Like that's massive. And then also if you use different type of graft types too, right? That's going to limit the range of motion early. And as a result, with that, scar tissue adhesions can form. Now, with your scar tissue adhesions, you have to be very, very mindful and aware of the fact that this is not really correctable with just pushing the range of motion, trying to bend it and straighten it as best as you can. That's not really how that works. Scar tissue adhesions really have to be removed. Use some type of surgical procedure of some kind. Used to do in a or arthroscope or arthroscopic procedure in order to clean up those adhesions to get your range of motion back. I've had people come to me with ACL injuries 9 months out, can't run, and I've told them to go get an actual procedure in order to remove the scar tissue to see if we can get as much range of motion back as possible. Not the news they want to hear, but if you're working with a therapist who's very experienced with this type of rehab, you will find out that that's the appropriate conversation to have. You have to be honest, right? Because you're trying to build that village. And then the third piece of this, do you know your precautions? Like your precautions, what what they did limits your actual range of motion, right? So what did your limits by your surgeon? What did they say you could and couldn't do? Uber important. And then have someone actually discuss and read your surgical notes. I think reading surgical notes is the most important thing you can do when it comes to ACL rehab. Two reasons. You don't really get a chance to talk to the surgeon just because that's just not what happens unless you work in a physician-owned practice, and even then, some of them just don't want to talk to you, and some of them are too busy, right? So, as a result, understanding and learning how to read surgical notes really, 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 really can help you understand what happened in the knee, right? You can get a true understanding of the health of the joint. All right, let's proceed to the next part. Now, active knee extension. This is a very touchy topic for all involved. The questions are always kind of surrounded by a lot of vague descriptions and explanations and facts and non-facts, right? So when to do it, why to do it. For most people, the question could be answered between the times of 3 to 6 weeks post-op. For some people, it can be later. It could be 6 to 8 weeks post-op, right? It really depends on your precautions, the status of your knee, how intense the surgery was, how bad the damage was to your knee. That can really affect a lot of things. And then last but not least, you really want to pay attention to the fact that even if you do knee extension later in your therapy, hopefully within the first couple of months, it's not going to hinder you from getting back to playing. And I can pretty much speak from that through experience. And the only thing I will want you to make sure you have is all your range, and then the strength that's needed to be able to access that range of motion and be able to, get your power back and your speed. And you'll be able to gain that. But the range is really what happens or what matters the most. Right. Does it really matter? Yeah, like I said, it kind of matters for sure. I'm not saying it does not, because that's important for running and accepting weight also. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like a coin flip. It really depends on the status of your knee post-op and what happened with it, right? Also with that, let's talk about something super quick. I have to progress the knee based on what injury is the most affecting injury when it comes to you being able to move. The ACL is important for stability, right? When you replace that ligament, that's great. But there are some things that slow down the recovery, and it's not necessarily the ACL all the time. And there's something about the ACL you need to know. The ACL has to be allowed to mature. There's a certain collagen synthesis or the actual remodeling of the ligament that's being used as your ACL that has to occur. And that happens over literally a 12 to 18-month period. So just because you feel good, you're running, you're planning, you're moving around, does not mean that your ACL is really all the way there. And the tensile strength of that could be varying depending on the actual end of the collagen synthesis or the actual remodeling of that ligament in your knee. So that's something we can't measure. But for the most part, that is the main thing that you want to make sure is correct. Your progression, your range of motion, and make sure the graft is allowed time to mature. So, what's progression of full knee extension? Usually, they block you out from between 0 to 60 degrees, and you basically extend from 0 to 60 or 60 to 0, however you want to look at that. And then you progress to 90 to 0. Then after that, you're pretty much in full knee extension, from that point. All right. So let's listen, right? When to listen, meaning that when have you reached a point in your ACL rehab that you need to listen to your body, right? You need to listen to your knee. Listen, listen, not just making your mind, to carry you. And I'm going to say this is going to tick some people off. I do not like when coaches are too involved without the parents, the coach, the therapist, and the actual player having all equal weighted voices. And I'm going to tell you why. I've seen too many, and I repeat, way too many situations where the coach holds too much power and it's always ended negative for the most part. I'm going to say there's been times it's probably not as negative that I can account or recount, I'm sorry. But at the same time, there should be a conversation that happens collectively, right? When it's time to listen to your body, you know your body. When it doesn't feel right and you know you don't quite have the control you used to have or the assurance that it's not going to give away on you, then you really need to tap into why you feel that way. What motions, what things, what feeling, what is it? Let's get down to it so we can train that out, right? Because once you rupture this thing again or you injure yourself again, the actual rehab or the recovery from that is just as extensive. And then it can affect your performance, right? So you have to be very, 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 very mindful of the fact that you need to really take your time and listen to your body. Only you can make that decision. right? And who is the physical therapist guiding your care? There's different levels to this. And when I say levels, I mean attention to detail, not levels in the sense of this person is better because they worked here or work. No, no, no. There's different levels of detail that have to occur. A therapist that's really focused on your return is a real deal involvement. It takes a lot. You'll know it when you see it, okay? And what level do you play? Right? That's really important too. Like if you play at the high school level, you really want to take this time to try to get yourself 100% healthy. If you can't play the following year and you have another year left, or you can't play the following first half of the season in high school, scrap it, get yourself right, get back. In college, a little bit different of a world. They're let's be honest here, man. It's a business. They're trying to get you out there to play, whether you're 100% or not. And people can say that they're not, but that's BS. Like I've been around it. I've been in training rooms. I've been a part of conversations with college level athletes. Trust me, there's a lot of pressure there. And professional, really different world there. It depends on what leverage you have. Are you in the last year of your contract? Have you just signed the contract? Really depends your leverage, what position you play, like your leverage. It's all about leverage at the professional level. So if you can get healthy and try to get back fast, that's what they want. That's what a lot of athletes want. That's what a lot of agents want. So it becomes a whole different thing there. So the level you play really determines a lot when it comes to your recovery, right? And this is some of the nugget I wanted to throw in, right? 4 months, run or not to run. This is kind of a trick question here. 4 months, you should already have been running probably a month before that. Anti gravity, right? Water running, ultra G running of some kind before 4 months show up. Right, and it's only straight line running at that particular point in time. So, if somebody's asking when you should be able to run, in between 10 to 16 weeks, really. So, if you see somebody running at 8 weeks in water, Ultra G assisted like that, that's not abnormal. I've seen people run at 8 weeks. I've seen people run at 10. But with that, you gotta make sure you're in the right setting with the right people taking care of you. I want to thank everybody who made it to this point in the talk, man. I really appreciate you all pressing play and letting us actually educate you. If you have any questions about anything, like I said before early, please subscribe, like, share, comment, and we will definitely answer it. If you have a situation where you're not all the way back from ACL injury that you've had before, you can always DM us on 3Gen at 3 DM us on Instagram at 3Gen Physical Therapy, or you can hit us up at our website 3gen-gen.com/booking and actually sign up to actually have a consultation from us where we can discuss what's going on with you and try to figure out if we can help or assist in any shape, form, or fashion. And like I said, people, we will continue to do this, man. We'll drop different videos every week discussing different things that we've been getting asked about by our patients, our clients, and our future patients. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And with that being said, I hope you have a blessed one. We'll catch you in the next one.